Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we got two pushes on the Kursk front line to talk about, as well as one that's entering in the Belgorod region. So the first and deepest push that they did was along the flanks along the border. Yesterday they were just up to Borky, and now they've moved through Spalne, Krupets, and Kamishno. This is interesting because this isn't the area where I actually expected Ukraine to go. I thought they were going to try to do a little push through Ulanok and continue up north, but this actually gives them a better vector to attack from. There is a river between this area, but this gives them a little bit more leeway to do some kind of movement here. To the south of this push is mostly just fields with like a couple tree lines and stuff, so if Ukraine wants to push in this direction, it may fall pretty quick. The only major roadblock is this forest right here, probably this settlement, and maybe like one or two of the ravines. But as you can kind of tell by this, Ukraine does have the height advantage with this hill right here and pushing in. I wonder if we're going to see Ukraine keep advancing east, because they're going to start to get into some bigger settlements, which may take longer to take. And pushing out this long and thin, which is my street name, but that's not important, that leaves Ukraine vulnerable to flank attacks from both sides, so it's better to secure the fields to the south to give them a bit of like a little bit of wiggle room, some room to move around. But other than that, we also have this area a little bit northwest of Suja. Now, Martianovka isn't 100% confirmed. I'd say about like half of the sources say it is liberated and half say it isn't, but Mikhailovka is. These two are both the last settlements for about like 10 kilometers out in both directions. The elevation is pretty much equal, and if we take a look, it's just fields and a couple ravines. Based just on geological and location factors alone, I think we could see a Ukrainian push about this far or so. Now, before we get into the other new push, there's been some news coming from Koronevo. Russia has officially blown both bridges right here. Now, this is not something you do if you plan to move anything across those bridges. This is something that you do to slow down the enemy. So the fact that Russia is trying to slow Ukraine down and damaging their own infrastructure, which would hinder any counteroffensive they do, to me shows that Russia isn't planning to do a massive counterattack in the Kursk region. And the reason why is because I think they're trading the Kursk gains that Ukraine is getting for their current gains that they're getting in the area by Pokrovsk. Today, the front line around this area deteriorated a bit, and Russia captured about 5 settlements. Pokrovsk is one of Ukraine's main supply hubs in the southern Donbass region, and I didn't draw the whole front line, I'm sorry. And it's been the target of major Russian advances in the past couple weeks. So we're gonna be in an interesting position right now because the Ukrainian command has done calculations and thinks that this Kursk offensive is going to be worth the gains that Russia makes here. And Russia has done calculations and thinks that the gains that Ukraine is making in Kursk is worth the offensive and gains that they're going to make here. So this is just going to be a battle of whose calculations and planning was correct. Ukraine's also said that they're making 10 new brigades in the coming months, and they've also reinforced that Kursk with some new reserves. Now the problem is, because Ukraine is starting this Kursk offensive, they need shells, which aren't going to the area in Pokrovsk, which is part of the reason why Russia is going through there. Russia has the manpower advantage in Pokrovsk, and without proper artillery, it's hard to slow down an advancing force that's larger than yours. So if we can get some extra shell deliveries from the west, that would be good, but Ukraine may have to find a different way to ration the shells or just gamble on Kursk and hope that this doesn't go bad. The Ukrainian command's been pretty good at predicting a lot of stuff, so we'll see if this Kursk gamble plays off. And the Russian intelligence, because of the corruption in their system, generals not wanting to report stuff out of fear that they'll be fired, I think that influences Russia's decision making to be skewed and not based on reality. That's one thing that the Ukrainians have been good at, is grounding themselves in reality and making decisions based off of that. While that's one of the major problems and major inefficiencies of the Russian army. My bad, I started cooking right there. Let's get into this little push that's going into the Belgorod region. This area isn't captured yet, but clashes have been reported in Vyazovo. Ukraine already has a little foothold in Belgorod down in Peroz, but expanding it's just going to make an even bigger headache for the Russian army. I've also seen reports saying that fighting's ongoing in Zhuravlevka, which is interesting because this is right up against the border of the Russian operation. They use this little lake. If Ukraine is currently trying to attack this settlement, they could be trying to logistically undermine the Russian operation in Kharkiv, which looks kind of like this. I don't know. I've never drawn this before. It's certified not accurate. But if you didn't hear about that, basically the Russians tried to launch another offensive here and it just kind of got bogged down. They got stuck in the center of Vovchansk and eventually had to retreat from there. But yeah, that's all I got today. I'm focusing a lot on the Kursk operation, but I don't want to undermine what's actually going on in Donetsk with New York and especially Pokrovsk. But at this point, it's coming down to a battle of gambles and we'll see what happens. All right, and that's all I got. I'll see you guys later.